people? Welcome to the channel. You know that we are following a little bit this whole timeline of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni feud, and last week I haven't reacted much because most of the things are already out, right? We have gone through most of the details or part of the details of his website, because as you can see here, he literally posted a website where you have the whole thing, and I can link it below somewhere in the comment section for you if you want to. But we have gone through this, we have gone through the timeline of exchanges, and the more you read this stuff, the more damning it is for Blake Lively. So now last week, that the first hearing in court in front of a judge, they were not there themselves, but the two lawyers were there, and the judge actually made sure a little bit to tone down the whole situation and asked both parties to not litigate this in television. They can only defend themselves from things fake or whatever created by other people, the lawyers at least, but not to share other things or do statements and all kinds of stuff that could interfere with the jury. So, and if they do not comply with that, instead of having a trial that it's like in March 2026, so in 1 year time basically, and a month, it might speed up the process. The judge said he has the power to do that, or she has the power to do that. I think it's a he. So it's becoming very heated. But also the common feeling here, the overall feeling, it's already starting to shape. Like I said, when you go through some of this stuff, right, and you get the videos that we have seen on set of the two flirting with each other while preparing the right cut for the movie, right? You really get a sense that, what was happening in that banter had nothing to do with the accusations of Lively. And in fact, I find it interesting now, there are people's chiming in, joining into the conversation, where like this lawyer is they're expert in DV and harassment on working place, are siding basically with Baldoni, a former federal prosecutor and criminal defense attorney who have handled thousands of S-based workplace cases, from claims of bosses undressing employees with their eyes to FV assault. We have learned one universal truth: the devil is always in the details. In this Hollywood saga, those devilish details are driving streams of hot cakes. As arrest on any workplace is prohibited, and punishing it requires proof that conduct is severe and pervasive. But consensual workplace flirtation, that's an entirely different legal matter, and one that frequently complicates cases like this one. And that's exactly what we're seeing here, right? With that, especially with the live footage. The most damning evidence publicized thus far is an on-camera embrace between Baldoni and Lively as they filmed the scene It Ends With Us. The co-stars were captured in a wide shot with their off-script conversation recorded in full. Remember, these are professional actors who could have said anything to create the appearance of romantic banter. Instead, Lively is seen to engage in unnecessary flirtatious conversation and touching with Baldoni. The extensive collection of text messages Baldoni has since released further substantiate that Lively welcomed and often initiated flirtatious workplace interaction. In one text, she described the flirty and yummy ball-busting she planned to employ in a romantic scene with him. If you know me in person longer, you have a sense it's my love language, she wrote. We have gone through that message, and this is just part of it, which is becoming more damning actually for Lively. So now the lawyer of Baldoni are hinting that maybe, since Taylor Swift was also part of this now, let's say, famous encounter into Lively Reynolds' penthouse meeting where Baldoni was berated and sort of manipulated to accept the rewritings of Lively on the script with the help of the two dragons, namely Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds. The lawyers of Baldoni are hinting that there could be a possibility that they could depose Taylor Swift. And we've seen already, I don't know, I haven't substantiated this 100%. I'm just reading some articles. Some spokespeople, are saying that Taylor Swift had no involvement in, had no involvement in the creative process of the movie. And it seems also like that she's taking a little bit the distance from this whole situation, because obviously Taylor Swift is the biggest pop star that we have in 2025, and probably the last thing she wants to do is to get her reputation damaged by somebody that is over abusing, let's say, the privileges and the position over a guy that seemed was bent over in any possible way to accommodate her, and it just didn't manage, to the point where if you continue to read the script, Baldoni recently shared also messages from co-workers on the set, where they shared, basically, I paraphrased them, that this woman was her first experience on set, and she was absolutely grateful to Baldoni for the opportunity, and she will cherish for the rest of her life that experience. That Baldoni was such a good director that created an incredible safe space for her to do her job. And Baldoni is sharing this to give credit to himself of being obviously a good director on set. Again, trying to deflate the accusations of Lively that he was in any way inappropriate or straightforward harassing her. So now it becomes more clear, right, that the public opinion is swaying more and more towards Baldoni. And some lawyers are also saying, like, I think was the lawyers of Johnny Depp that came forward and said that obviously this technique of Baldoni, right, to let everything into the public like this, right, it's quite an aggressive move. But in the other end, I have to say, here you have a couple that it's worth together, Reynolds and Lively, like somewhere north of 340 millions or so, maybe more. Reynolds has a lot of businesses, is very successful, also outside of being an actor. Lively herself, she's not doing bad. I think she has a good net worth of 20-30 million or so. So they're doing extremely well. Baldoni is I never heard of him honestly until now. And I'm sure he was doing movies, and he's doing all right, but probably nowhere near these two people. And the lawyers are stating that, he lost a lot. He lost more than a lot. And in my opinion, this is also the reason why he preventively, boom, went full in with this tactic of sharing everything before it's even too late. Because, listen, from past history, that all it takes is a rumor, is a word, literally not even proof of anything, just somebody saying something against you, and all of a sudden you dropped by everyone. Case in point, Johnny Depp. Those accusations came forward. He was literally shooting the movie, right? The Harry Potter movie, the sequel or the prequel, I think was the prequel, was literally on set. And in the evening, they asked him not to come on set the day after. So that's how pernicious, how vile, how violent, can be being cancelled based simply on somebody saying, an accusation of some sort without any proof, without any backing. So I can understand Baldoni that probably he wanted to make sure that this didn't happen to him. And probably has already happened, because he probably has already lost future works over this, but he wants to set the record straight. By the way, I think also another PR company is suing Blake Lively now for less money, but still, they're also, I think it's a PR company of Baldoni, or that was working with Baldoni, they're also suing her. So, I mean, this whole thread, is spiraling to an incredible degree, to the point where, when you learn that she was rewriting the script, doing the editing, and basically pushing him on the sideline, where him as a director didn't even have a final input on the movie that came out. And there is literally a petition that I've seen online already walking around. I don't know if I can find it somewhere, but there is literally somebody already started a petition to get the cut of Justin Baldoni movie, to see actually what was his vision, if it's possible, probably, to put it together. And I would agree there, honestly. I think it would be a great idea to see what he had in mind, instead of letting an actor, the hubris of an actor taking over, the ego of this actor taking over, destroying the vision of the director. That's honestly, it's freaking crazy, if you ask me. It's like really putting the cart in front of the horses. So, well, if I have to tell you what are my personal feeling on this has gone so far at the moment. Actually, I wanted to listen a little bit to, I wanted to listen to this part here of the lawyer on TMZ. Is going so far at the moment that most likely from here to 2026 they will settle outside of court, because I don't see any scenario with all that it's available, right? I make you an analogy here. It's like, when we discovered hours and hours of messages, conversations between Johnny Depp and his ex-wife, right? Those were so damning for her, because we really were there with them for literally hours, and we got to know the dynamics, that we didn't need anyone convincing us from one side or the other. We could literally make up our own mind, because we were there with them. And obviously the truth was so clear that was undeniable, right? It was undeniable to not being able to, take Johnny's side. So you had to. And here we are in a similar case. So far, all I'm seeing here is a very egotistical person that is trying to use this very convenient trick, right? That probably has worked so many times for other people, of course, in the past, of accusing somebody of something they haven't done, something so egregious that obviously the collective, tries to immediately detach themselves for fear of losing business, for fear of losing customers, and resulting in the cancellation of an innocent man or an innocent woman, but in this case is a man. So I have a sense that this is going to destroy further lively career, even Reynolds, because people are already siding more and more with Baldoni, and I don't see this getting any better for her. And if they depose somebody, probably is going to get even better for Baldoni at the end of the day.
Means Brian, Blake Lively, the last thing she wants is to take the stand. She doesn't want her husband to take the stand. She doesn't want Taylor Swift to take the stand, nor do they want to take the stand. So if they came to you and just said, we will basically call this a massive misunderstanding, can we just drop it? Would you entertain it? I'm curious.
I mean, he was called a sexual predator. So are they saying he's still a sexual predator, but it's a misunderstanding?
Harvey, when you're in the middle of representing one of these people who's in the eye of a storm, and Brian's done it a zillion times, I've done it a fair amount of times, you need to be vindicated. Because at the end of the day, you're not, no amount of money will get you back to square zero.
Well, that's a great point, honestly. And, it all depends how much money you can spend. Johnny Depp spent a fortune to vindicate himself, right? And he had the resources and he could, but he lost also a ton. He lost hundreds of millions of dollars because of his ex-wife and the consequences of those fake allegations. And he had even the courtesy, right, to not appeal and basically get nothing out of the ex-wife, but just the validation that he was innocent, right? So I understand that completely, but the damage is done, and it might be the case here as well. I mean, here it's less, honestly, compared to what Johnny Depp ex was saying that he had done. Here it seems like it's much less, right? And that there will be far, far less, like evidence or punishment of any kind, if any, of course. But I would understand, obviously, the lawyers, they want to go on because either one way or another, they want to get paid. But you want to be vindicated, right? I agree.
To your point, Harvey, as many people didn't know Baldoni as they knew Lively. However, Lively, be careful what you wish for, has, the public has gone full Amber Heard on her. And Baldoni could have been defined, as Brian just said, as the sexual predator, but for the magnificent job he's done here. So, it's a horrible body blow to have to take and have, can't leave your house. I don't know, and I haven't asked you this, Brian, but I'm going to assume he's got round the clock security and his family's had to be relocated and the whole bit.
I mean, there's certainly that invasion of privacy that goes on, but I think it's not so much having something to do with me that turned the tide. I mean, the reason to put the information out there is just because of who he is. It's the truth. It's just the truth. And the reality is that had there been these horrible things, and had there been these horrible text messages, had there been this horrible information, that stuff would have been put out there too.
I appreciate your humility, but you and I both know, and I think Harvey would say the same, a lot of lawyers in your position would have just rolled over and played dead. That's unfortunate. They would not have thought back and just would have thought there's no way to stem this tide. It's a tsunami coming at me.
Yeah. So Mark and I were talking about something before you jumped on. The whole thing is curious, the way Ryan Reynolds got so involved in this, that there was that meeting at their penthouse where he confronted Justin and allegedly screamed at Justin. And we were talking about what brought all of this on. Was it that Blake was going home and expressing her dismay at things that were happening with him? Or was this, I mean, people are kind of talking about this online, kind of a love-hate kind of thing, where all of a sudden Ryan is just saying, just stop it, everybody. And, I'm not saying that happened, but people are talking that way. So I'm just wondering what you think the motivation was where this turned into nuclear war.
Well, as we have alleged in our complaint, that this was a takeover of a movie. And, whether we find out exactly what the reasons for the takeover were and who was behind the takeover, I think that we're going to find some interesting documents when discovery starts. And I'm looking forward to discovery, because when you start to look into what was in Stephanie Jones's hands and what was in Leslie Sloan's hands and what was in Blake Lively's text messages, and what those discussions were like, I think we're going to find the answers to this really quickly.
You are going to depose Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Taylor Swift. Who else?
Well, I don't know that we're going to depose Taylor Swift or not.
Really?
I think that that's going to be, probably a game time decision. I don't know that decision's been made, but I can tell you this: there's anyone that reasonably has information that can be that can provide evidence in this case is going to be deposed. I mean,
that's Taylor
sure.
Swift. She was there for that meeting.
She was there for that meeting.
Okay, well, I'm a lawyer. I know what that means, and that's why I'm just thinking that even when you you take Blake and Ryan out of it in terms of how they personally feel about it all. I mean, to say that we're going to put Taylor Swift in the middle of this whole thing, I think they are going to do everything they can to avoid going to court, because the last thing they want is to have their friend, the biggest star in the world now, sitting on a stand being grilled by Brian Friedman.
My assumption is that they're going to probably take some legal actions that are beyond the bounds of decency, and we'll see if they can try to avoid a deposition.
How could they do that if there's relevant?
Wow, I mean, this is pretty awesome. I mean, because I also have a sense that somebody like Taylor Swift, really the last thing she wants to do is being associated with this, and especially probably knowing most likely that they will lose and it will tarnish her reputation as well. Probably, of course, she will recover because she doesn't have really like a super huge hand in this, but only that, being deposed and being there and probably lose the case, will not go down super well. So for sure she will lose some fans and some credibility. And the last thing they want to do is to have more stuff come out, because I have a sense also that this lawyer, right, they have more they haven't presented yet. So maybe I'm wrong, but I have this sense. I think they have some aces in the sleeves, on top of all the things that we have already seen. So wow, I wish this was this, for the sake of continuity, was this March 2025 to go to trial, because it's like Chelsea Handler said, it's quite entertaining to see this in the midst of so many other things. So anyway, let me know your thoughts, and I'll try to keep up once a week or so with this whole case. I'm juggling in between music reactions and a little bit of gossip. I hope you enjoy both, and I'll talk to you later.